On June 1st of 2022, my husband and I were sitting in the backyard of our home in Phoenix where we had been living for about 4 years. And I said something to him that I had no idea was a premonition of what was about to happen 7 days later and within the next year. So each month, my husband and I would have we called it the State of the Union meeting. And we would talk about what's the best thing that happened this month, what's the worst thing that happened this month, what does our schedule look like. We would talk about our goals we had set from last month to this month. Did we hit them, did we not? In categories such as weight and health and business and our finances. On this occasion, on June 1st, John was talking about where in the Phoenix area he would like to permanently relocate. And when he said that, I said, you know, John, I love living in Phoenix. And since we've moved here, I love the area. I love being here with you. And I know that you want to live in Phoenix because it's warm and it's near your kids and your grandkids, who we had just moved from California, and his kids and grandkids were there. But I said to him, if something happened to you, this is not where I will live permanently. I will relocate. And I don't know if I would relocate to the East Coast because I've never lived on the East Coast, or if I would move to Mexico, or if I would just travel the world. I don't know. But I know that Phoenix wouldn't be my home without you. And 7 days later, John was on a hike in the Phoenix area and he collapsed and he didn't make it. And I woke up the morning of June 7th, a happily married woman, and I went to sleep that night as a widow. My life had completely turned upside down, and I realized that this book of life that John and I had written together, as of that moment, the pages from that point forward were empty, and it was up to me to rewrite my next chapter. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 things that helped me the most as I navigated my journey through grief, and also what that next chapter looks like. This YouTube channel is not about grief. It's not about me being a widow, and I really don't talk about it a whole lot in depth other than what I'll share in this video, and maybe there'll be a few others. But this video is really about empowering you to overcome challenges in your life. It's about helping you to be able to create the life that you want. And because I had to do that in the depths of despair, in the midst of widow's fog, in the midst of the worst time of my life, that I had to rewrite that next chapter. And I want to share with you some things that helped me to be able to do that. And like I said, 7 days after that meeting, he passed away. Within 1 year, I had turned in the keys to my home. I am now living the life of a nomad. We had a lot of timeshare points, and I'm very grateful and very blessed for that. But I realized that I could live out of timeshares for about a year and travel the world. So right now, I'm coming to you from Daytona, Florida, and I have just a spectacular view off of my balcony. And I'm excited to be able to share with you what might be possible in your life by sharing what was possible in mine. I'm going to share with you 3 kind of unconventional things that most people don't think about when someone is grieving. And also, before I share this, something I do want to clarify: grief is not just about losing a loved one. Grief can be maybe the loss or the termination of a romantic relationship because one or the other individuals wants out, and one or both parties can be grieving the loss of that relationship. Maybe you have a best friend that moves to a different state and you're grieving the amount of time and the fun that you used to be able to spend with that best friend. Maybe your career comes to an end if you're let go inside of a job and you're grieving that you no longer have this job or this career to go back to, or even somebody entering into retirement and you grieve, the working years when you have this community of people that you worked with and created cool things on the job together with, and now that's done. And so there are lots of different things that we grieve, and there are lots of different challenges that we face. And I'm hoping that inside of this video, there will be some little nuggets that you can take away that can help you the next time that you run into a challenge. So let's get started. First of all, the most important one is going to be the very last one. And it's something that I actually started like 20 years ago that I'm so grateful for. And you're definitely going to want to stay for that one, because no matter who you are, what you're going through, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, what I'm going to share in the third point is, I think, life-changing for anybody. But the first one is, John and I had 3 trips planned when he passed away. We were going to go to St. Martin 3.5 weeks after his passing, and then we were going to go to Williamsburg, Virginia a month after that, and then we were going to Mexico. And my world was upside down. I mean, I had to sort out the finances, I had to figure out his business, and this was all unexpected. I'm in a state of widow's fog and confusion and everything else. And I had to decide if I was still going to take this vacation. And on top of that, and because of the thing I'm going to share with you in the second point, because of that, I would post a lot of stuff on Facebook. So I was talking to a coach of mine, and I said, you know, I could stay at home and grieve inside of the 4 walls and feeling sorry for myself and what I'm going through right now, or I can take this trip to St. Martin. And there was a friend that was going to be joining us there. I'm choosing to go to St. Martin, but what is that going to look like? What is that going to look like? You know, my husband dies, and then 3.5 weeks later, I'm on an airplane to St. Martin taking a vacation. And what he said to me was huge, and it was life-changing. He said, Debbie, share your journey. Share your authentic journey of what you are going through, and no one will question it. So I began sharing my journey. I began sharing what it felt like to be a widow. I shared that term. Like, that's it. The word widow is very polarizing. Some people hate it, some people love it. And so I just began to share my reality in that moment. And every journey is different. I'm not here to tell any widow what you should or shouldn't do. I'm not here to judge any person on what they are doing or not doing. Everybody's journey is different. I'll simply share what mine is. And I decided to go ahead and take this trip to St. Martin. And I'm so glad I did, because getting outside of, I'm going to call it a comfort zone. When John passed, like, what I wanted to do was just curl up in bed and never get out. But I had stuff I needed to get done. I had things that needed to be taken care of. And I knew I couldn't just shut down. Life had to keep moving forward. Having that trip 3.5 weeks later, number one, it gave me a deadline to get all of the finance stuff squared away before I left. So it kept me moving in a productive way each day. But then when I went on that trip, it showed me that I could have fun again. It showed me that there's so much more adventure that is out there that I could explore. And I'm so grateful that the vacations that he had planned for us got me out of the house so that I could experience what travel could look like without him. And initially I went on each of those trips with somebody because I wasn't prepared to travel by myself. But just going on those vacations empowered me that I could also travel by myself. And again, I am a nomad right now, traveling the world, living in timeshares. And I absolutely love being able to explore new places, go new places. By the way, I had asked John during one of these meetings many months before he passed away, I'm like, would you ever consider putting everything in storage and traveling the world? And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. So then when he passed away, that was kind of the ball that I put in motion. It was actually the second trip that he had planned for us to West Virginia. We went with a couple, and then because we hadn't already booked the airline tickets, I actually extended that trip. And so my friend and I went to the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and it was there that the idea occurred to me to live the life of a nomad. So just with that travel, getting out of the house, not, sometimes we just shut down when we're going through a challenge, but it's important that you keep moving outside of what might be the norm or what might be typical or what people might say you should be doing. When you move outside of that, there's a whole world of opportunity, and I'm so grateful that I had an opportunity to experience that. The second thing is from a decision that I made about 10 years ago, and to lay the groundwork, I started out in corporate America, and about 25 years ago, I left corporate America to have brick and mortar businesses. And then about 10 years ago, I decided, having a brick and mortar business, there's a lot of stress, a lot of overhead. You got employees, you got inventory and all of that. I wanted a business model that was simple. And so I left having my own brick and mortar business and I started the world of network marketing. It was a simple business model and I truly believed in the business model. It's funny because John didn't when we first got together. He's like, oh no, that's a pyramid scheme and that's a scam. But then once he started trying the products and he realized the products are good, it is a legitimate business model as long as you're partnered with the right company and the right opportunity and doing it in the right way. And because he was my bookkeeper, he quickly realized that, oh yeah, network marketing is good. So when he passed away, I had a home-based business that I had already been building for several years. So I had residual income coming in. I had the ability to take the time to do what I needed to do and figure out what I needed to figure out without having to worry about going back to a job or without having to worry about what the future finances might look like. Because I have my own business, that can look like however I want it to look like. So when he passed away, I am so grateful that I had a network marketing business. And if it's not network marketing, I encourage you to look at any sort of a home-based business model because it can provide residual income, it can provide freedom, and it can either supplement the income that you're currently earning at a job or it can replace the income that you're earning at a job. But I am very grateful for the direct sales industry, for the network marketing industry, not only for the income that it provided during that time and it continues to provide moving forward. It gives me the freedom to live the lifestyle that I want to live. I can travel anywhere in the world as long as I have Wi-Fi. I have the ability to build my business, and it also provided a community. Inside of the world of network marketing, we're working as a team and we're helping one another in their success. And by the way, if this is something that you're considering or you're looking at or you want to learn more about, just drop it in the comments and I can share with you a little bit more about it. But it provides community, and the individuals in my team were there for me in my darkest hours. They actually flew out to Phoenix and we took a trip together to Sedona, and they managed my business since I wasn't able to show up regularly during the first several months. They were there to help me, and so having that community was huge. And then here's something else that I did not anticipate. The company that I was partnered with came out with a new product launch in February. So John passes away in June. In August, I made the decision to sell everything and become a nomad, knowing that I'd have about 9 months to transition out of my house. And then in January, my company launches this new product. So I started in February. It was a weight management coffee. And at the time, I wasn't going to the gym. I had bigger things to worry about than a diet plan or anything like that. But I started drinking this coffee. And by the way, I've done weight loss products in the past. I just kind of rolled my eyes like, oh my gosh, I am so not going to be selling a weight management coffee. And I started drinking the coffee. And here was an unexpected benefit. It gave me clarity. It helped me focus. The widow's fog, that when a loved one passes away, there's this phenomenon called widow's fog. You're just kind of in this fog. You can't think clearly. And I noticed that when I started drinking this coffee, I could think more clearly. I had more energy. I was more focused. And I was able to make progress every day in sorting through all the stuff that I needed to sort through so that I could be ready to hit the road in May. And then another benefit of it, again, I wasn't focusing on weight loss, but during the time between February and May, I dropped 7 pounds. And if you ever go on a vacation and you come back weighing more, I was concerned as to how I was going to manage my weight when I'm traveling the world and living in timeshares. And I have not put any of that weight back on, and in fact, I am continuing to drop a few of the unwanted pounds. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about that product, there is a link to a longer video that I do just specifically on that product, so you can grab that down in the description or in the comments. The third thing that I am so grateful for, and I think this is something that can help everyone, no matter what you're going through. If life is great, it can get better. If life is challenging, then you can turn it around, and that is personal development work. 20 years ago, a friend of mine introduced me to Tony Robbins. It was probably about 25 years, maybe even close to 30 years now. It was when Tony Robbins was just getting started, and I bought his 30-day Unleash the Power Within course. And at the time, I was working in corporate America, but I was frustrated and I felt trapped. And it's not that I didn't like my job, I was just frustrated, and I knew that there was more. And when I went through that course, it changed my life. It changed how I thought about things, and I realized that we create our own future, and we can't blame others. We can't blame, situations or anything else. We have the power to take control of our lives. So I went through his 30-day course, and then I had the opportunity to go to his live weekend Unleash the Power. And again, this is like 25, 30 years ago. It was at a small theater in Pasadena. Tony Robbins was just getting started, and there was maybe 1,500 people at the most in this theater. And I repeated this weekend event years later. In fact, just a year before John passed away, I went to the Unleash the Power Within in Miami, and it was pretty interesting to see the difference between Tony Robbins being on stage the entire weekend in a small audience of maybe 1,000 to 1,500 people to now, and he fills stadiums with 13, 14,000 people. So it was really interesting to see that difference. But the training and the information that I received from him also started me on a path of personal development in a lot of different ways. And I've gone to various events. T. Harv Eker has a Millionaire Mindset event that I had gone to. I don't know if it's still going on now that the pandemic is over, but I had attended that a few years ago. There is a course called Landmark. They have a Landmark forum. I absolutely love what Landmark teaches, and bang for the buck, it is probably the most powerful. It's the most powerful personal development. It's not even training, it is an experience that you go through, and I'm grateful that I have been through Landmark. And here's what personal development did for me during this challenging time. I realized that you have to think about what you think about, that our brains go into an automatic mode and we can't shut off the thoughts, but if we can become aware of our thoughts, we can now replace negative thoughts with more productive and more positive thoughts. So when John passed away, rather than ruminating on that loss in my life, rather than ruminating on all the bad things that were around that, it allowed me to focus on what are the things that I'm actually grateful for. And so I'm grateful that he passed away doing something he loved with people that he loved, and that it wasn't when we were on that vacation in St. Martin 3 weeks later. I was able to focus on it. The pain in grief is inevitable. Pain, you can't help but feel pain. What you can help is how long are you going to live in the feeling of that pain, and the pain doesn't have to become suffering. And so with all of the training that I had, I realized that I create my future no matter what event is happening in my life. The event I can't change, but my attitude around it, I can. And I can take the lessons from my past. I can take what I want to create in the future. I can start to ask myself the right questions I need to be asking in order to move in the direction that I want to move. And so personal development work for me was huge. And so I just wanted to share, these are the three things. When somebody dies, you have your family around, you have your friends around, and there are grief support groups. I have never attended a grief support group meeting. I think everyone needs to go on this journey of grief, or any challenge that you move through. You have to do it in a way that is right for you, and there is really no right or wrong. For me, I didn't want anything planted in my subconscious mind. And here's one example. A lot of people will say, oh my gosh, Debbie, the second year is the hardest. Widows themselves would say, you know, I made it through the year first because I always had family and friends around, but then the second year was the hardest. And I would actually say to them, you know, please don't even share that with me, because I don't want to plant that into my subconscious mind, that I have to prepare myself that year 2 was going to be the hardest. Instead, I would ask myself, what do I have to do in year 1 so that year 2 can be an amazing year? And so I was able, with the training that I've had, to change the conversation in my mind. I truly hope that what I have shared with you in this video is helpful. Again, my channel is not about grief. My channel is about empowering you to have the life you want, equipping you with some of the different tools, sharing with you my journeys, and maybe you'll get some different travel ideas. Maybe you'll believe in yourself, that whatever you want to create in your life, you can create it and you can make it happen. That's truly what the purpose of my channel is about. But if any part of this video has resonated with you, I do appreciate if you'd like, hit the subscribe and leave any comments or questions or anything that you might have for me down below in the comments section. I truly appreciate you taking, I know this video is a bit long, but I truly appreciate you taking the time to hear this story. And if there's anything that I can do in helping you move forward through your challenges or through grief, then I am happy to help. Have a absolutely wonderful rest of the day. Have an incredible 2024. I'm filming this video in January of 2024, and I wish you massive success as you move throughout this year.